Hi, Trinaf Golf. Okay, cool. Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'll put you there and we'll get started soon. So, for those who don't know, I'm Gabrielle Maston and we'll get started in a sec once we have people pile in. So, I've made our Periscope go live 2 minutes early just so that we can get a lot of people on the scope today watching. So if you think someone can benefit from learning about sodium or salt, please let them know that we're doing the Periscope. So you can swipe right or swipe up and share it with your friends on Periscope or on Twitter or on Facebook or wherever you want to share today's scope. Okay, so we have a good deal of people here, and guys, I love when you talk. Salt will kill you dead. Okay, no, salt won't kill you dead in certain circumstances, but it might in others. So we're going to explore both the positives and negatives of salt, because I think people should have a broad idea of what it's all about. So nothing's always as doom and gloom as what it's made out to be. Anyway, so let's get started. So like I said, I'm Gabrielle Maston from gabrielmaston.com. And I'm talking tonight for Health Rewards, so healthrewards.co.uk. Good day, welcome. Oh, thank you. And gosh, people, if you do say weird stuff, I'm going to block you. So just so you know, hang on a sec, another one here. There we go. All right, so 2 people blocked already, and we're only 2 minutes into the show. So what was I going to talk about? Salt. Okay. Now, first off, we'll talk about the negatives of salt, because I think that's what most of you have come here for. Love the accent. Well, thank you very much. It's Australian. So, okay, most people say salt is a silent killer, and in certain circumstances, yes, I do agree with that. So where would salt be a problem? It would be a problem if you had already high blood pressure, if you had heart disease, if you had type 2 diabetes, or any underlying kidney conditions that might cause problems, okay? What about the ocean? Yeah, well, the ocean's made of salt. Exactly, we go swimming in the ocean. So that's great. Let's not have a diet war. I can see people talking about low carb, high fat, other people talking about vegan. Let's stay on topic. I'm not going to address any diets today. Okay, we're talking about salt, which can go across any diet that people follow. Okay, so the type of salt that we get, like this one that I had in the picture. Salt is called sodium chloride, okay? And it's just naturally occurring in a lot of food. So we do get salt or sodium in our bread, also in sauces like marinades, soy sauce, if you like Asian food. Where else? We get, of course, chips. Not that we're supposed to be eating chips, but it is also naturally occurring. Yeah, salt and vinegar chips, there you go. They taste great. But we also do get sodium in vegetables and also a little bit in fruits and also grains. And then, of course, sometimes people add salt to meats and chickens and stuff like that. Chickens or chicken need more salt. Well, certain people need more salt, other people don't. And the reason why it does cause a few health conditions in people is because salt, or actually I should explain how the body works. Okay. No, it's only salt in red meat if you add salt to red meat or if you're marinating the red meat, okay? And small amounts, very small amounts in fruits and vegetables. So just to clarify, there's not naturally occurring salt in meats, it's just if you add it, okay? Okay, so why is it a problem? So in the body, we have a fluid balance, yeah? So our body, we have plasma in our blood, and that's basically water with a lot of red blood cells in there floating around that carry oxygen to our working muscles. Now, the body likes to maintain a balance of sodium or electrolytes, okay, which includes potassium and things like magnesium as well, with water, okay, so it maintains a balance. And that question about, am I a doctor? No, I'm a dietitian. That's why I'm talking about salts, because salt is in food. Okay, so The body likes to maintain a balance called homeostasis, okay? What happens when you have too much salt in your diet is that the salt levels go up and then the body goes, oh, I have to maintain homeostasis, and then it adds more water, okay? And so then we get more blood volume, so more plasma, more fluid. And what happens with that is that it does overload the system, and then your heart has to pump harder, okay? So you get a bit of fluid retention. So you've probably noticed if you go out and you have like a big meal out, like takeaway, and it's quite salty, let's say Thai food or Chinese food, typically because they use soy sauces, or even fish and chips, okay? Then sometimes people find that they have fluid retention the following day. So they might feel the fluid retention in their ankles or in their hands. People suffer from that worse if they're a little bit older. Not so much if they're a bit younger, okay? So like I said, we have to be careful of the amount of salt, especially if you're prone to this fluid retention business, okay? And especially if you have chronic diseases like type 2 diabetes, because we know type 2 diabetes is linked to heart disease, and blood pressure is also linked to heart disease. That's why we have to be careful of the salt content in our food. So if you want low salt products, especially if you have one of those chronic health conditions, you need to choose products that are less than 250 milligrams per 100 grams. What are signs of fluid retention? Well, when you press on the skin and it goes white for a long time or indents for a long time, that's fluid retention. And you'd know, you kind of end up looking a little bit puffy in the face or puffy in the extremities where there's a lack of circulation, which typically you'd see, like I said, in people who are a little bit older, so like older adults, people in their 50s and 60s, not so much in younger people, okay? Because we have good circulation because we're active, hopefully. If you're older and don't get fluid retention, that's probably because you're pretty healthy or not prone to those things. So remember, a lot of these things are genetically determined too. Not everybody is going to react the same. Could you survive with zero salt in food? And no, and that's where it gets tricky. We do need salt in certain situations, and we do need a little bit of salt in the diet for everything to work properly. We just don't need an excessive salt. So let me go through what's a normal amount and what's excessive. Okay, so like I said, when you're choosing products, you want less than, if you've got a chronic health condition, less than 250 grams per 100 grams if you've got type 2 diabetes or heart disease, okay, or high blood pressure. But if you are a person who doesn't have any health conditions, but you're quite healthy, it's 400, so less than 450 milligrams per 100 grams. Okay, what does that mean? So when you're looking at the nutrient panel, this one doesn't have a nutrient panel, but you know the nutrient panels on the back of labels, how it's got per serve, per 100 grams. Well, you're actually going to look at those numbers on the panels of food and look for these values, and you know that that's going to be a low salt product. Okay. Now, how much salt do we actually eat? Well, it's estimated that most Australians, and I'm talking about Australians because I am in Sydney, but most Australians eat about 2,500 milligrams per day. So what does that mean? That they're eating 2.5 teaspoons of salt per day. Okay? So it's quite a bit of salt. So 250 milligrams is about 2.5 grams. Okay, so people are actually eating a lot of salt. Okay, so people are actually eating quite a bit. Now the recommendations is that we only have, or we have less than 2,000 milligrams per day. So that's what we're supposed to be having. So people are actually eating 500 milligrams more. Does that count for Americans too, or are we different? I would say it was about the same because American and Australian diet's quite similar. So you'd actually check your Heart Foundation website. They'll have heaps of stats on that. And especially for the guys for the UK, you'd also have a Heart Foundation website for the UK, which is unique to your country. And they'll have the stats there for you. Okay, what am I talking about? I'm talking about sodium today. We're talking about salt. Okay, So that's what I said. That's what we're meant to be aiming for, 2,000 milligrams or less. And actually, it is really easy to do if you eat healthy foods and you try to avoid packaged foods as much as possible. So, you know, grains are very low in sodium, so are plants. So any, so like wheat or rye, green leafy vegetables, sweet potato, broccoli, whatever, okay, is really low in sodium anyway. So is fruit, so are meats and chicken and egg and fish, okay? So we can do that. Now, let's talk about exercise. Yes, because someone just mentioned, what about if you sweat and you're doing cardio? Okay, so if you're doing if you're doing exercise, then salt is important, or if you have low blood pressure. So I actually suffer from very low blood pressure. So typically my blood pressure will be about 110/60 or something ridiculous like that. So I do actually kind of feel dizzy a lot of the time. Well, sometimes, you know, when my sodium level's low. And I also exercise quite a bit, so I do sweat quite a lot. And so I lose a lot of electrolytes or salts in my sweat. And so for people that do a lot of exercise, or what we call salty sweaters, so people who sweat quite a bit and that actually sometimes you see a film of salt on their skin or on their clothing, or if you're an endurance athlete as well, so you do, you know, your marathons, ultra marathons, triathlons and stuff like that, then you would have to make sure that you have enough salt so that you can function. Because salt helps us hydrate. Remember, it's a fluid retention thing. It helps you keep fluid in the body, which is actually what we need when we're trying to hydrate for sport. So not in every instance is salt bad. For certain people, it's not so great. For others, like athletes, it's actually very useful and helps with sports performance, because we know when we're hydrated, we have better performance, better accuracy, better timing, and better concentration. So it can actually be, salt can actually be an ergogenic aid, so something that improves performance. Okay, well, I think that was it. I hope I answered all of your questions about sodium. If you have any more questions, let me know. Otherwise, you never heard of that theory about, about athletes. Well, it's not a theory, it's actually fact, because there's lots of science on that about rehydrating. And if you do endurance-based sports, typically when I do programming for clients, for sports nutrition clients, I not only tell them when to eat their carbs, when to drink their water, I also tell them how much salt to have per hour in terms of salt tablets, or sodium found in sports drinks as well for the rehydrating factor. Okay, well, we lost a lot of people, but I hope you enjoyed it. Ask a quick carb question, go ahead. Yes, let me know what's your carb question and I'll start to wrap up. So if you want to know more, it's gabrielmaston.com. I'm on Twitter at gmaston, so at gmaston. I'm talking for Health Rewards today. If you work out at 4 a.m., how would you work my carbs? I wouldn't work it on timing. I would work it on your goal. If you're trying to lose weight, how tall you are, what's your current weight, what's your current age, how much exercise do you do? So it's hard to answer that question without doing a full analysis. Would I still not eat carbs at night? Well, again, it depends what you're having during the day. It's just a really hard question to ask just like that without knowing a bit more history. So look, if you're doing exercise and it's only for 30 minutes, we don't have to eat carbs beforehand, even if it's high intensity. If you're going for a little bit longer, like an hour, 2 hours endurance-based exercise and there's no food around, then go ahead and have carbs beforehand. But yeah, sorry I can't be more specific because it's a little bit more complicated than that, how I'd answer that question. All right, I'm going to take off because it's 10 o'clock at night here in Sydney, but I hope you guys really enjoyed today. And you're welcome. And I'll talk to you next Monday at the same time, 10 o'clock. The next couple of episodes series or whatever for Periscope Health Rewards is the same time every day of the week. All right, talk to you soon.